I'm currently navigating a challenging situation marked by my family's expectations and financial disagreements within my marriage. It feels like my chance to inherit what I rightfully deserve is slipping away, overshadowed by my husband and his mother's relentless pursuit of wealth. You might assume that inheriting from one's family would be straightforward, but for me, it feels like a distant dream. My husband Henry and his mother are so fixated on money that they seem to believe they can lay claim to my late father's hard-earned legacy, a thought I find utterly unforgivable. Every day, my resolve grows stronger. I refuse to succumb to their insatiable greed. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Diana, a 40-year-old woman navigating a 14-year marriage while juggling family duties and a demanding job. My husband Henry, 42, works at a supermarket near the station where our paths first crossed during my university days. We started dating casually while I worked part-time at that same store, eventually marrying when I was 23. Our family now includes our son, Liam, who just embarked on his university journey this spring. While I remain committed to my responsibilities, a troubling undercurrent runs through my life: Henry's reckless spending habits. Though he has the right to spend our hard-earned money, his constant demands for more, coupled with a lack of transparency, have worsened our financial situation. Discussions about money, especially in front of his parents, quickly turn into battlegrounds. My resistance to their endless requests often leads to fierce opposition, and tensions rise whenever Liam's grandparents visit, a sentiment Liam shares, often choosing to avoid their company. Recently, Liam dropped a bombshell that added even more stress to our already strained situation. He caught his father being unfaithful. This revelation left me heartbroken and furious, yet Liam's support gave me the strength to consider confronting Henry before making any major decisions. As I gathered my thoughts on how to address this delicate issue, an unexpected situation arose. Henry and his parents showed up in our living room. What seemed like a casual visit escalated quickly when Henry suggested an expensive trip to Hawaii, casually mentioning he needed $8,000 for it. My frustration boiled over, and I seized the moment to confront them, not just about their relentless financial demands but also about Henry's betrayal. The room fell silent as the weight of my accusations sank in. When I confronted Henry about his infidelity, he initially denied everything, questioning the need for proof and defending his innocence. I countered by stating that he had been seen entering a hotel with another woman. He attempted to discredit our son, the very witness of his betrayal, which made me hesitate. I didn't want to drag Liam into this messy confrontation. To my astonishment, my mother-in-law downplayed the seriousness of the infidelity, suggesting that such behavior is typical and should be overlooked. I was appalled that she, a woman herself, could dismiss such behavior so lightly. Despite the emotional turmoil, the conversation quickly shifted back to their financial request for the Hawaii trip, as if my husband's betrayal was merely a minor distraction. Frustrated with their ongoing financial disputes and the lack of moral sensitivity from Henry, I realized it was time to end our marriage. With a calm yet firm voice, I knew it was time to stand my ground. I declared that we were getting a divorce, and my husband reacted with an immediate threat. If we proceeded with the separation, he would claim my parents' mansion as part of the property division. Our argument escalated, but just then, my cell phone rang, interrupting the heated exchange. It was my uncle, my father's brother, calling with distressing news. My father had collapsed and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. I quickly explained the urgent situation to my husband and his parents before hurrying to the hospital. Upon arrival, I felt a wave of relief when I learned that my father was stable, though his health was far from good. At 62, he had dedicated his life to our family business, working tirelessly to provide us with a comfortable life. The sudden news of his health crisis shook me to my core, making me acutely aware of his irreplaceable role in my life. A few days later, my father regained consciousness, easing some of my immediate worries during a visit with my son Liam. We shared a bittersweet moment filled with relief and concern. However, a subsequent call from the doctor confirmed the severity of my father's condition, exacerbated by years of overwork. Tragically, he passed away not long after, and I found myself engulfed in grief. Throughout this challenging time, Liam remained my steadfast source of support. As an only child, I took on the responsibility of organizing the funeral, a task made even more difficult by my husband's indifference. At the funeral, My in-laws attended but offered nothing but superficial expressions of admiration for the family home, displaying a tasteless curiosity about its value. After the memorial service, as I struggled to come to terms with my father's passing, my in-laws paid us an unexpected visit. Sadly, their attention was more focused on the material aspects of our lives, with my mother-in-law particularly fixated on the grandeur of the house. Their insensitivity and materialism only compounded the pain of our family's loss. As I grappled with my grief and began putting away my funeral attire, I felt a deepening sense of isolation. I received an unexpected call that my parents were on their way to visit. Confused and anxious, I couldn't help but wonder what prompted their visit. My apprehension grew as I braced myself for another conversation likely focused on financial issues. Determined to understand their intentions, I prepared for a meaningful discussion upon their arrival. When they walked in, the mood shifted. My in-laws, who had tagged along, settled onto the sofa with satisfied grins. Tension thickened when my husband suddenly suggested that we move out of our spacious house and proposed that his parents move in with us in a new home. Shocked by this suggestion, I reaffirmed my decision to proceed with the divorce, a choice driven by the need to manage my late father's affairs. Ignoring the reality of his infidelity and our impending separation, my husband nonchalantly insisted that everything we owned, including my inheritance, should be shared between us as spouses. His audacity, assuming entitlement to my inheritance, infuriated me. Meanwhile, his parents casually discussed their room preferences in the potential new mansion, further fueling my frustration. Determined to protect the legacy my father had worked so hard to build, I vowed never to let them have their way. The sheer gall of my husband and his parents treating my father's house and wealth as if they were rightfully theirs stretched my patience to its breaking point. A few days later, amid this turmoil, I received a call from my uncle. His comforting words reassured me that I was handling the situation well, despite the overwhelming challenges. However, the conversation took an unexpected turn when he mentioned he had urgent news to share, prompting us to arrange a meeting that very night. As he revealed shocking details about my husband and his parents, I braced myself for what was to come. I was stunned by the gravity of the information my uncle shared. Determined to find a way forward, I confided in him about the outrageous demands and claims made by my in-laws. Outraged by their boldness, my uncle reassured me that he would help manage the situation. Curious about his approach, I eagerly met with him the next day, bringing my son Liam along. The plan was to enlighten Liam about the true nature of his father and grandparents, preparing him for the difficult times ahead. Armed with this new strategy, I called my in-laws over to discuss the possibility of all 6 of us living together in my family home. The proposal seemed to catch everyone off guard, but once they realized we were serious, my mother-in-law quickly warmed up to the idea, excited at the prospect of living in what she referred to as a dreamlike mansion. However, that excitement was short-lived. Reality struck when my father-in-law mentioned the cancellation fee for their previously planned trip, demanding reimbursement. Their unabashed self-interest was glaring, and I was appalled by their audacity. Yet my mother-in-law, unfazed, assured everyone that they would manage the finances soon enough, brushing aside any immediate concerns. Having dealt with my husband and in-laws' relentless pursuit of money for so long, I had become somewhat numb to their schemes. But this time, their sheer selfishness struck a deeper chord, reminding me of the challenging road ahead in standing up to their manipulative tactics. Liam, who wasn't used to their blatant greed, was clearly upset and angered by their behavior. To comfort him, I gently patted his shoulder and assured him that we would manage the situation together as the conversation continued about the possibility of moving into my family home. I decided to play along, fully aware that my in-laws' expectations were far from reality. My husband, Henry, probed into the logistics of the move, his tone unusually sharp. Trying to ease the tension, I explained that Liam and I would go over first to prepare the house, emphasizing that it was a substantial task and we needed to start early. However, Henry expressed doubt about Liam's ability to handle such responsibilities, given his status as a student. I skillfully reassured him that Liam was more than capable, though Henry remained somewhat skeptical over trivial issues. Despite the underlying tension, my mother-in-law was cheerfully oblivious to it all. The conversation soon drifted to the size of the mansion and the number of rooms, which excited her. Seizing the opportunity, I told them they could choose their rooms first and even suggested a gradual approach to cleaning and organizing, considering my busy work schedule. My measured responses temporarily satisfied their expectations, leaving them pleased with what they perceived as a victory. In my mind, however, I was devising a plan to challenge their presumptions and bring their lofty expectations back to reality. The moving day was scheduled for a month later, giving me time to strategize and potentially change the course of events to better align with fairness. As the decisive day approached, I felt a mix of anticipation and determination. Liam and I stood at the front entrance, ready to meet them, ignoring Henry's attempts at humor. I noticed the sparkles of excitement in my in-laws' eyes, completely oblivious to the fact that their illusions were about to be shattered. When the gates swung open, my uncle, my father's brother, stepped out of the house. His presence was silent yet imposing as he confronted my husband and in-laws, leaving them puzzled. It was clear that Henry barely remembered my uncle from the funeral. My uncle asserted his ownership of the house and clarified the details of the inheritance distribution. The shock on my husband and in-laws' faces evident as they processed the gravity of their misunderstanding. Despite my uncle's assertive explanations, Henry tried to maintain his composure, seemingly attempting to gloss over the confrontation. However, the tension escalated when Liam stepped in, accusing his father of infidelity. This revelation left Henry visibly shaken, unable to deny the truth of being seen entering the hotel with another woman. The suspicion I had harbored was now confirmed, and when confronted, my husband adamantly denied the accusations, refusing to admit to any wrongdoing. Liam, distressed by his father's actions and their impact on our family, urged Henry to leave our lives for good. Despite this emotional plea, my in-laws remained fixated on financial matters, insisting on a formal division of property. Their relentless pursuit of financial gains starkly contrasted with the emotional turmoil we were experiencing, highlighting their indifference to the pain they were causing. I was left utterly astonished when my in-laws announced that they had given up their apartment and quit their jobs to indulge in a leisurely life at what they assumed would be the family mansion. Even more shocking was their revelation that both my husband and father-in-law had resigned from their jobs, planning to rely solely on what they believed would be their share of my father's inheritance. Bewildered by their rash decisions and presumptuous expectations, I stood firm in asserting my rightful claim as my father's child, anticipating a fair division of his substantial property. Fortunately, my uncle, who was also a lawyer, stepped in to manage the legal aspects of the situation. He revealed that my husband's infidelity was backed by solid evidence gathered from a month-long investigation. This disclosure stunned my husband and his parents, finally making them realize the gravity of their miscalculations. With my uncle's guidance, I informed them that any further discussions would need to be handled legally and demanded that they never contact me again. Despite a brief hostile look from Henry, they left without further incident. I expressed deep gratitude to my uncle for his crucial support. Following the legal proceedings, Liam and I moved into the family home, fulfilling the wishes of my father and grandfather. I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the opportunity to live in a house filled with cherished memories. Inspired by his uncle's example, Liam dedicated himself to his studies with the goal of becoming a successful lawyer. Meanwhile, my ex-husband and his parents faced tough times, struggling to find new jobs and adjusting to an old apartment. The repercussions of their actions began to unfold as Henry, now financially strained, reached out for help. However, having severed ties completely, I declined to provide any financial support, reinforcing our estrangement. As he tried to adjust to his new reality with part-time and day jobs, their earlier scheme to finance a non-existent luxury trip unraveled, further exposing the extent of their deceit. Relieved of these burdens, I focused on my career, eagerly looking forward to seeing Liam graduate from college, proud of overcoming such significant challenges and starting anew.